Hello and welcome to your restorative yoga practice. The last few weeks I've had a lot of conversations with different people who have expressed interest in having their own yoga practice, but not necessarily knowing where to start or not necessarily thinking that yoga is for them. So what we've created for you today is a 12-minute sequence that can be done on a yoga mat, it can be done on a bed, it can be done just on a floor if you have a blanket. The idea for this practice is to create accessibility to these poses so that way no matter who you are, where you are, you can find that groundedness within yourself and connect your body to breath. So first, I'm going to start with going through some ways to just create your space for your practice. And these are things that I would even recommend doing if you're just cooking yourself dinner or spending an evening at home alone or with a partner or with friends, just to kind of clear the energy and invite in calm and peace to help with grounding and staying present. So first, music. I think that music is an incredibly personal choice. Usually whenever you're listening to something like this, you're on a phone or a device like your phone, and so it's not as accessible to listen to music at the same time. If you do have access to another device and you wanted to play something, I'll link a playlist that's one of my personal favorites for restorative yoga in the details. And then otherwise, if you have something else that you would like to play, I would just suggest playing something that is soothing and peaceful to you. But you can also go without music. I often practice yoga without music if I'm doing a self practice, but every once in a while I'll put on one of my playlists. So there's that. Next, I recommend lighting a candle or incense. We're usually in the van right now. We're at our home base, so if we're in the van, we light incense. It just feels a little bit safer than an open flame, especially because I often forget to blow candles out, so that's very helpful. Some other props that we'll need for today, again, you can do this on a yoga mat, or if you're just on your bed, that's perfectly fine. If you are on a yoga mat and you'd like to use a bolster, that's what I will likely be using, you can do that. Or either way, you can use just a regular pillow, or if you prefer just to have a blanket, that's fine too. I have my block out. I don't necessarily think that we'll use it, but if we get started and you decide and you have a block that you'd like to use it, please feel free to. One other thing, since this is restorative, I have an eye pillow. So this one is made of rice, and sometimes whenever I use it all, I have essential oils. So I have a peppermint or spearmint that I will place on the corners, and I can use that to put over my eyes during Shavasana. That can just kind of add another soothing element to your practice and engage your senses in that way as well. I keep my eye pillow in the freezer so that way it's nice and cool whenever I'm ready to use it. But you could also keep it at room temperature if you like. So there's that. Let's see. And water if you need water. I always have water by my side. And I also realized I left a coffee sitting on the other side of the room too. But for now, wherever you are, if you need to pause this, go ahead and pause it and go get whatever it is that you need or want for your practice. And then when you come back, we will get started. So I also today wanted to share just a little bit about my why and my yoga history. So I actually did the math the other day, and I have been practicing yoga for about 16 years now. So technically my yoga practice could be driving a car. I originally started doing hot yoga. I would attend classes at a local studio, Yoga 101, and I would do the classic 26 class in the early mornings, And just over the years, I started going there, and then another local studio, Evansville Power Yoga, and just gradually developed my practice. And I never really felt like a yogi or someone that did yoga, but it was something that I was continuously drawn to, and something that I kept going back for more. So over the years, I would be on and off with my practice, and the times of my life, the seasons of my life where I was consistent with it, I could notice a distinct difference in how I felt moving through my days, what my responses were to things that scared me, what my anxiety levels were like. And then most recently, I guess 2 or 3 years ago now, during the shelter in place for the pandemic, I wasn't going to studios because all the local studios were closed, and that's when virtual yoga was becoming a thing, more so than it had been before. And I actually attended a 108. It was a spring equinox sun salutation practice, and it was from someone that was hosting on the East Coast, and they had a series of different yoga instructors come on, and so each yoga instructor taught their own flow of sun salutations, and so the entire practice ended up being 4 hours long. And it was this, I've learned that I also really enjoy endurance anything, and so this was like an endurance awakening practice for me, and I found this immense gratitude and joy from the simplicity of the sun salutation. So in some of the other things that I do, the sun salutation will be one of the things that I'll teach the most often, just because I think that it's something that is accessible to someone who is a beginning practitioner or even an experienced practitioner, just to kind of take that time each day to ground. And so shortly after that time, I was doing Zoom classes with Evansville Power Yoga, which I still do now, and I signed up for their yoga teacher training program. It was something that I'd always said that I wanted to do, and didn't actually think I would do it, but at that time, I didn't have any more reasons not to. The biggest one I'd been holding on to was that I didn't have the time in my schedule, being an event planner, because most of the trainings were on the weekends, but with the pandemic and things not being open, and just different decisions leading to the availability being wide open, I had the time. And so I signed up, I did it, and now my biggest why is creating accessibility for anyone who wants to have a yoga practice to do so. I have my own personal practice now that does involve a lot of restorative yoga. Some of my other favorite things to do right now are working on arm balances and some different strength building vinyasa flows, and that for me is something that is healing and aids in my growth and groundedness, and even I think allows me to be here with you today. So that being said, thank you for being here with me, and thank you for being with me where I am on my journey right now. The recording the classes is new, and we hope to put at least one recorded video out each month moving forward. So today, let's go ahead and get started. So I wanted to start with a reading about what restorative yoga is, and it's from one of my favorite resources in yoga books by Naomi Anand, and I'll show you here. And I'll even put a link to this in the notes, so that way if you'd like to purchase the book, you can too. I highly recommend it. So she says, restorative yoga takes the stillness at the heart of the practice and puts it center stage. It takes us from the fight or flight mode of our stressful lives and allows us to settle into the parasympathetic nervous system, where we might find genuine calm. This means it is ideal for those with anxiety, depression, chronic pain disorders, or anyone looking for respite from the pressure of the day, since its long-held and deeply felt poses boost the immune system and calm the mind. So, that is what we are here to do today. All right. So our first pose is going to be supported child's pose. So you can take your bolster, or your pillow. I'm gonna do the bolster here. And we're gonna hold each pose for about 3 minutes. So what you can do, this bolster is a little long, so I may end up changing here. But what we'll do is kneel and with your knees apart, fix the bolster and the pillow, or the pillow underneath your torso. And then we'll just lay down here, fixing your head to one side, either one, whichever is the most comfortable. And then the idea is just surrender the support into the bolster or pillow, so that way you can relax and start breathing. So like this, you can wrap your arms around the pillow, the bolster. And as you lay here, begin to notice your breath. Notice how you feel. And more importantly, notice how you feel without judgment. Begin to notice your inhale and your exhale. If it feels good to you, you can start to move your hips side to side. This is a hip opener, so you'll feel the gravity of this pose, and when you surrender, you'll feel the relaxation that it has to offer. And just stay here. Continue to breathe. We're using this space today to bring awareness to your body, to your breath. Notice your thoughts. And before you start creating narratives, running away with them, just come back to your breath and let those thoughts go. Continuing to breathe. And we're going to slowly transition out of this pose. So go ahead and start to wiggle. And begin to lift up. And we're going to lay back on our backs. So for this pose, we're going to lay on our backs and bring our knees into our chest. So for this one, a pillow might be nice to place under your head, or you can just lay directly on your bed, the floor, or your mat. So go ahead and lay back. And then bring your knees up towards your chest. Interlacing your hands on your shins. If that's not accessible, place your hands on the side of your legs. You can even just place your arms down here, holding your legs up. Allow your shoulders to relax on whatever surface you're on. Notice if any part of your body is tensed up. Our shoulders are very easy to tense up, I think, whenever we're doing these poses. So if you notice it, simply let it go. And in this In this pose, do the same thing as we did for the last one. Begin to notice your breath, every inhale, every exhale, noticing your thoughts and letting them go. It's not uncommon to start to feel a little bit of anxiety whenever we create this space for silence and for breath. And so I encourage you just to continue to stay with your body, with your breath, with yourself. Now honor your work and being here, for showing up to your practice, for taking the time, for making the time. If it feels good to you in this pose, you can go ahead and rock side to side, massaging your lower back and bringing your knees into your digestive muscles, just clearing out energy, coming back to ground. Take a few more breaths here. And from this position, knees to your chest, we'll transition into reclined bound angle Supta Baddha Konasana. So bring the soles of your feet together, place them down on your mat, let your legs come out wide. And here, you can place a bolster or pillow underneath your knees. You can have the pillow underneath your head. And this is where I'd also recommend putting your eye pillow on. Relax. This pose is also a hip opener. And you can rock your knees back and forth gently. And feel that opening. You may also feel some tension. A lot of us have tight hips, and it just takes a little bit of time and practice to release some of that tension. And something to remember with your practice is that it is simply that. It is yours. And your practice will be wildly different from someone else's practice. And your practice will also be wildly different than your own practice, depending on the time of day, the season. Many different factors can contribute, but each time you show up to your mat, show up to your practice wherever you're doing it, it's probably going to be a little bit different, and that's okay. And it's important to stay out of judgment for however your body shows up that day. Sometimes your hips will be more tight than other days. Some days you'll be able to go further in a pose than you were able to the day before, and sometimes the opposite. So keeping that in mind, notice how you feel right now in this reclined bound ankle. Notice where any other tension is in your body. Continuing to notice your thoughts and to let them go. Coming back to your breath. And next we're going to move into our final pose, Shavasana. Your final rest. So if you have a pillow under your head already, you can leave that there. You can remove it. If you have a blanket, you can put the blanket on. whatever feels more comfortable to you, please do that. Our intent with this pose is to continue grounding, to relax, to restore, to give ourselves space and peace to just be in our bodies and breathe. I'm going to do a reading. So we're recording this on August 21st. So I have Melody Beattie's Journey to the Heart Daily Meditations on the Path to Freeing Your Soul. So I'll read today's daily meditation, and then you can stay in this pose for as little or as much time as you would like. And if you come back to this practice, these poses, you can do these for anywhere between 3 to 20 minutes apiece. So as you build on your practice, if you're using this sequence, you are welcome to edit and modify the time as feels best to you. Today's reading. You're free to open your heart. Open your heart to the people you love. Open your heart to the world. Open your heart to God, to the universe, to life, and all the creatures and creations in it. Open your heart as much as you can. It's safe to open your heart now. There was a time when you believed that the only way to protect yourself was to shut down and close your heart. You have learned so much. You have learned the powers of honesty, compassion, forgiveness, and kindness. You will no longer become stuck or trapped if you open your heart. You can leave if you want to. You can say what you need to. You no longer need to protect yourself by guarding your heart with the heavy armor you wore in the past. Now you are free. Free to open your heart. Free to open yourself to the universe. A woman I met in Sedona gave me a lovely visualization to use. Picture your heart. In front of your heart, you see a beautiful rosebud, tightly closed. Whenever you want your heart to open, picture the rose blooming wide, beautiful, alive, and fragrant. Whenever you want to retreat, turn the rose back into a bud. Open your heart to the world, to the people who live in it. Open yourself to creation. Open your heart to yourself, to God, to life. Life will become magical, and you'll think back and smile. You will wonder why it took you so long to open your heart. And in conclusion, open your heart as much as you choose, as much as you can, and share it with the world. Thank you for sharing this space with me today, and I'm grateful for you being here. I'm grateful and honored in the work that you're doing, and wishing you peace as you stay in Shavasana. Namaste.